Even in a dystopian world, hope can still survive. Even if it's done through sweat, blood, and broken bones, it can still be obtained, thus making it worth fighting for. That's why, after a global cataclysm that left the world in ruin, athletes lace up their boots and step onto the gridiron so that not only their lives but the lives of those they hold dear can be improved. Let's just hope that they don't develop CTE and become a disgraced content creator who tries to embezzle money from their charity organization. Greetings and welcome to Checkpoint Gaming. With this episode, we'll be going over the high-level lore surrounding Stadium, a sports odyssey. With the game lore, we pulled information from the 1.0 rulebook, its homepage, its corresponding Kickstarter page, the Vixen's expansion box, and direct communication with the game's creator. With that said, we plan on working with the game's creator to bring you the official lore of the game as the story develops. In the not-too-distant future, an immense craft has emerged from the Bermuda Triangle. This vessel of unknown origin, only known as Stadium, brought unimaginable levels of pain and suffering to the inhabitants of Earth, which came in the form of extreme weather, earthquakes, floods, tsunamis, tornadoes, disease, famine, and plague, leaving horrific devastation to its inhabitants. This included catastrophic winter storms blanketing large areas of the planet, while heat waves relentlessly bake other parts, making it nearly impossible to live in these areas, even for the locals that made these areas their home. With major cities, they crumbled and shattered like toys, while rural communities were washed away like sandcastles. And unbeknownst to the peoples of Earth, Stadium is the reason why vessels and aircraft disappeared within the boundaries of the Bermuda Triangle, for Stadium was essentially consuming them to obtain enough energy for it to finally emerge upon the world stage. And it was through the arrival of Stadium that led to the extinction of the dinosaurs at the end of the Cretaceous period. With the devastation that is wrought upon its emergence, it can be seen as the consequences of it being born. Although everyone knew that this day would come, as seen in innumerable books, stories, and prophecies that tried to foretell an emergence of Armageddon, along with a variety of different apocalyptic ends, none were prepared for the violent natural disasters that unfolded on that single devastating day, and none but the vaguest of predictions that are subject to heavy interpretation by those trying to interpret them were able to foresee this given end of the world. And though the hopeless screams went unheard and prayers unanswered, where society's leaders were left powerless amongst the immeasurable lives lost, the weather eventually calmed and all once again stood still. Since this day of revelation, humanity has rebuilt society from the fragmented remains of the world they once knew, where the cultures and peoples of the past became nothing more than bedtime stories, and history has become irrelevant due to surviving the present for a possible tomorrow becomes everything. With these disasters, they're known as God's departure, leaving great devastation in its wake. Those that survived this devastation have now been grouped into 5 regions that are governed by companies within a corporatocracy, with these regions having their own perspectives on how they wish to reshape the future. They also adopted a new calendar system, with this setting occurring within the year 47 NE, where NE stands for Nexus Era. And though these societies are essentially isolated from each other, they all covet the same source of power, that of Ethereum. Also known as E-cells, Ethereum is a new and highly efficient form of energy, and it is through these E-cells, along with the advanced formulas that are known as outliner grids, are only found and generated upon Stadium, which is found floating within the clouds. With the host and caretaker of Stadium, it is an individual known as Binary Tull. During orientation, Binary informs all new coaches that if they do well and obtain victory, they will obtain Ethereum that they can use for the acquisition of tools and knowledge that will assist them in furthering their goals of winning the game. But if they lose, then judgment against them will be harsh and unforgiving. Binary also tells the coaches that Stadium isn't responsible for the lives and well-being of their players. Said responsibility for the prevention of injuries and casualties will be laid squarely at the feet of the coaches, because only the coaches can properly secure their players' safety. Stadium is only responsible for providing the gridiron, making decisions, and doling out consequences. And with this game, it is based upon that of gridiron football. With the remnants of the world, it has been divided into 5 carefully chosen regions based upon potency of spirit, where bounties will be bestowed if they do well, while failure means that all is essentially lost. And with these regions, they consist of North, South, East, West, and Central. Each region also comes with a representative company. With the north, it is centered upon Volkakletka, which used to be Novosibirsk, Russia. With the south, it is centered upon Subaria, subworld which is found within the southern Indian Ocean. With the east, it is centered upon Helsikiana Way, which is found in the burning sands of the Arabian Desert along the Persian Gulf, where Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates meet. With the west, it is centered upon Quake City, which used to be that of Los Angeles, United States. And with central, it is centered upon Eden's Heart, which is found deep within the Brazilian Amazon, near what was once the border between Brazil and Bolivia. And we suspect that, based upon the map found on Stadium's Kickstarter, it is found within either the former Brazilian state of Rondônia or Mato Grosso. But that's more headcanon than anything else. With the companies that govern each region, they consist of the following: the Wolven, Lixure Corp, Temple New, Biocon, and Natural Radiance. With the Wolven, it operates out of Volka Kletka and it relies upon their primal instincts to survive, and due to their isolated barbarism, they possess a keen understanding of their mystical ethology. With Lixure Corp, it operates out of Siberia and is a pharmaceutical company with their governmental structure becoming exponentially powerful with a growing appetite for more. With the Temple New, which is short for the Temple of the New Education, it operates out of Helsikiana Way, and it has accepted the principles of a theocracy as its guide on how to govern their region. Through their strong devotion to faith, it has allowed them to uplift those who have fallen, given birth to the new religion. With Biocon, it operates out of the ruins of Quake City and is a medical company that engages in treatment and bioengineering research with a focus of their practitioners dedicated to saving the dying population. Finally, with Natural Radiance, it operates out of the domed city of Eden's Heart, where its ageless women use botany to preserve the beauty of the past and allows them to flourish within their botanical home, where they bring life back to a barren landscape. Although all 5 corporations have withstood the test of time, their future isn't guaranteed since they rely on Ethereum, which they can only obtain from Stadium, and it is through the ongoing tournament between these companies that will decide their fate, where they use enhanced players to compete as a means of ensuring the survival of their people. So through the final sport of humanity, players engage in a struggle between life and death within the field of Stadium. So even though Stadium's backdrop is that of a planet-wide dystopian landscape, the ideals surrounding hope still exist, with a metaphorical light at the end of the tunnel actually representing a better tomorrow instead of it representing an oncoming freight train. And even though there is no guarantee of survival for any of the players, they still compete to help their city survive. For them, what's the value of one life in comparison to the lives found in an entire city that they call home? With the teams found within the game, they consist of Wolvens, which is associated with the north, Land Sharks, which is associated with the south, Pharaohs, which is associated with the east, New Freedoms, which is associated with the west, and Vixens, which is associated with central. Of these teams, Land Sharks and New Freedoms come with the base game, and the Vixens being the first expansion team to be released, which we were looking forward to and bought once they became available. With the Pharaohs and Wolvens, they are waiting in the wings as of the writing of this episode. With all of that said, let's take a closer look at the Land Sharks, New Freedoms, and the Vixens, since we have access to them in-game, accompanied by bits of lore fragments found within the published material. With the Land Sharks, due to them coming from the dark waters of the South region, it led them to have an eat or be eaten mentality, with the idea of winning being bred into them, with losing being costly to Lixure Pharmaceuticals. The Land Sharks have proven themselves to be a dominant force within the league when it comes to scoring, with no signs of letting up, and have a top-rank running defense that is only second to that of the Wolven, but only when the weather is dry. With the New Freedoms, despite their city of Quake City essentially dying due to its small population finding itself in decline, along with only a few resources remaining, they still stand due to them bringing new hope to the populace that finds itself within a ruined region. And because of the practitioners found at Biocon and their determined will to survive, it makes New Freedoms a hard team to break, with their endurance being second to none. Because of their situation, they must make everything count or face the threat of their city falling into oblivion. With the Vixens, they found prosperity under their domed home of Eden's Heart, where its players are warriors forged through a combination of wisdom and botanical alchemy, making them more than mere athletes. And each Vixen bears the marks of her calling that consists of sacred lines implanted into both skin and spirit, which act as conduits of ancestral might and their unwavering will, echoing their foremothers. They also rely solely upon their plentiful, bioengineered bounty that is grown within their conservatories. Since their future teeters between greatness and the in-between, they do what they can to obtain glory and not allow their botanical paradise to regress to desolation. With that said, that is what you need to know when it comes to the primer lore of Stadium, a sports odyssey. If you like this episode, feel free to give it a like. And if you want to stay up to date on any future episodes we upload, go ahead and subscribe. You can also support us on Patreon for as little as $1 a month at patreon.com/checkpointgaming. See you in the next episode, and happy gaming.